As we stand here at 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, 139 of the parishes have completed their collaborative campaign, are doing it, or have completed their solicitation process. We are working directly now with another 17, and the remaining 17 include the 9 chapels, where it's a little bit hard to run them down in the wintertime, but we are looking for winter addresses and will be continuing. What has this produced? You may recall that for the diocesan campaign, our goal was $20 million. As we stand here today, for the diocese alone, we have now raised $18.8 million. I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever that when June 1st is over, and we have in fact completed the last discussion, that we will be substantially over. But that is not the number I keep track of. I believe that the collaborative part, the money that has been raised in the parishes for themselves, is equally important. The total of what we have raised for the parishes and for the diocese as we stand here is $30.1 million. This is exactly twice the cash raised in our first capital campaign. My belief that 50%, that we're doubling each campaign, is a good idea, and that is a challenge I lay down for my successor 7 years from now. What have we done for my successor? The number that I have watched most closely is 198 people who had given little or anything to their parishes before gave gifts of over $10,000. Those are the donors, the contributors of the next 25 years. Of those, 69 of them, first-time donors of more than $25,000. We have been consumed that raising the money in this campaign is only one part. The major thing is to build a commitment, a mindset, a process that our diocese, which is the only growing one in this part of the world, can continue to grow and can continue to fund what you have seen all over the last half hour and indeed the last 2 days. I owe a particular note of thanks to a number of people. Let me first start, of course, with our outstanding development office, with Lynn Matt and his group. They have done truly extraordinary work. My very favorite member of the diocesan staff is Jackie Drapeau. Yeah. You give Jackie a potential donor to pin them down with an appointment with Tom, and she is a bulldog. 16 phone calls, 17 around the country until there is a dinner appointment. This was absolutely critical. Mally, when we failed, and we sometimes did not get it right the first time, there was a memorable call in which it took 6 hours to get to the parish. It was 45 minutes, very unsatisfactory work, and 6 hours home. It was a bad day. Our consultant, who did a terrific job, was rumored to have consumed liquid refreshment on the way home to sustain himself. That, of course, then we turned it over to Mally. No good. On to Sam. And in due course, you're on to Tom. And the sheer process and the thought that convention might actually head there next time, they came through. extraordinary support by our staff, by our consulting firm, CCS, who didn't give advice. They did it. They got into the trenches and worked in a very tough way. But above all, the success of this campaign depends on a single person. That person I met in the most unusual way 19 years ago. I met him on, I believe it was the DVD technology at that time, that it was the time of the bishop election, and that to our parish there was delivered a 20-minute video so we could see the four candidates. And I looked at them with great interest. And on my way home with my wife, turned and said, you know, three of them remind me of my students in our advanced management program at Harvard. Worthy, solid people, pragmatic. The fourth one is different. The fourth one actually touched me. And of course, that is the one that stands here now. I call Tom my most dangerous and expensive friend. Every time I sit down with him, things begin to happen. He is one of the few people that when we ask him to go out and ask somebody for money, he first says, Warren, is this a big enough number? And then he never chickens out. The success, the vision of this campaign, the execution of it is to our remarkable Bishop, Tom Shaw. And Tom, we all owe you an enormous debt of gratitude in helping to secure the long-term equity base of the diocese and the parishes in the diocese. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, and thank you, Warren, for everything that you've done and for everything that you have said this afternoon. I have a favorite story from this campaign. I sat down with somebody at Henrietta's table that we were hoping would be a nice gift, and this was during the Occupy movement last fall. And he said, okay, Tom, what are we here for? And I said, we're here to move you from the 1% to the 99%. It didn't work, but we got him a little further along. I'm just astounded by what we have raised so far, but even more astounded by the richness of the programs that have come from all of you that we're developing across this diocese, and as you heard, across the world. If it hadn't been for your support and for your gifts for the Together Now campaign, we wouldn't have a Life Together program, and we wouldn't have this new work that we've just dedicated ourselves to in Kenya. And a huge, huge part of the thank you for this is to Warren and Karen and all of their work, to the staff here, and to the development staff of CCS as well. And to all of the volunteers that have helped with this significant campaign. And there are literally thousands of you across the diocese that have sat on committees, that have gone out and asked people for money, that have helped develop cases. You've done an amazing job in bringing us this far in this campaign. We have over 2,200 direct donors to this campaign now, and that's just a remarkable figure for our diocese. Parishes have contributed in all kinds of ways to our diocesan portion of this. You heard from Pam Wernz about the collaborative campaigns, and they just have all gone so successfully in their individual ways. And then the in-pew solicitations that have been done so well, pledges, campaign ties, and then those significant individual donors. So thank you for all of that and for the many, many creative ways that you've given to this campaign. I do want to say that our work isn't done yet. We still have $1.2 million to raise for the diocesan part of the Together Now campaign so that we can fully fund the hub ministry, the creation care part of the campaign, the Barbara C. Harris Camp and Conference Center, the mission tithe part of the campaign, and the renovation of this cathedral. Think how nice that Bible study would have been this morning if we didn't have these pews, if we could just turn a chair around and talk to somebody. But we just had that $1.2 million left to raise, and I ask you all, I went into the development office the other day and I said, I think we have between 500 or 600 people coming to the diocesan convention this weekend. And I said, if we were like Baptists and we closed the doors and we said there's $1.2 million left to raise and it's got to come before we open the doors, what would that look like? And so Brian did his figures and he said, it wouldn't be much if you got everybody that was there for the diocesan convention to volunteer to give just $40 a month for 5 years, we'd be there before we opened the doors to end convention. So, so we're not going to do that today, but my hope is that coming this far will encourage us to go the rest of the way. As you know, the last piece of any capital campaign is the hardest part, and so if we can work together over the next month and a half, we can secure that last $1.2 million. Our work isn't done beyond that. We have lots of pledges across the diocese. We have lots of collaborative campaigns to go on. And so my hope is that you all will keep this before every one of your parishes and that we'll continue to inform you, as we've tried to do during the last 45 minutes, of all the exciting things that are going on through this campaign and what it could possibly mean for your parish. So we have to keep telling the story, just as we keep hearing the story Sunday after Sunday after Sunday that encourages us to move on in building the kingdom of God. We have to tell our story, the story of this campaign and the good work that's being done over and over and over again over the next months, so that together we build God's kingdom. But thank you all so much for everything that you've done. And thank you, Warren, for everything that you've done. Are any of the people in the CCS, is Brian here or Stockton? Brian and Stockton, would you come forward? And Aaron. And then would you come up, and is Allie here? And what about Mary Ann?
They're all hiding.
No, we're not going to throw anything at you. These people are probably more familiar to you than I am, actually. They've been out in our parishes, and Warren was exactly right about the CCS team that's been working with us. Brian and Aaron and Stockton are not at all people that just give advice. They're out there in the trenches. And our own development department of Lynn and Allie and Marianne have done an extraordinary job teaming up with them and everybody learning from each other. I think CCS has had had an interesting time learning about the culture of the Episcopal Church. So before I ask you to give all of them a big hand, I just want to point out one member of the team, and that's Stockton Reese, because we're so close to the end of our campaign now that Stockton is going to be leaving us on Monday, and he's just done a remarkable job in so many parishes. So Stockton, thank you for what you've done. And thank all of you for the remarkable work that you've done with Warren and with all the teams and the committees across the diocese. Thank you very much.